People, what's going on? What's going on? As I promised, I told you guys tonight I would be talking a lot about the world of investing, how to make money in the real estate world, especially from a long distance. 1 second, let me finish setting up. 1 second. People, tonight we're talking about, is investing in real estate long distance really worth it? Because for a lot of us, eventually, the goal is we're trying to figure out, where do we invest? We hear a lot of people telling us that we should invest into real estate far out because it's cheaper. But at the end of the day, people, it's important to understand tonight's topic is really teaching you guys, is investing into real estate when it's long distance really worth it? As you guys know, I'm from Florida, and there's many different cities in Florida. And for a lot of you that's tuning in tonight, that's trying to understand, how does investing work when it's long distance? Tonight we're going to talk a lot about that. Shout out to everybody that's live right now. I appreciate you. If you're live on IG, YouTube, Facebook, all that good stuff. People, make sure you put your comments below. If you have any questions in regards to investing into real estate, we're going to talk about that tonight. We're going to give you guys some good gems on the pros and cons when it comes to long distance investing. And I want you guys to understand, as you're growing in life, people are going to tell you a lot of different things. They're going to tell you, okay, you should invest your money into stocks. You should invest your money into entrepreneurship. You should invest your money into real estate. Then they're eventually going to tell you that when it comes to real estate, there's better deals in this state. There's better deals in this city. There's better deals in this country. The question is tonight, does the long distance investing in real estate make sense? If you're in a state and you invest in the country, does it make sense? Does it make sense to have Airbnb in a whole different country? Does it make sense to have, if I'm in Florida, have Airbnb in California? Does it make sense to invest or even flip a property? If I'm in Florida, flip a property maybe New York. Flip a property maybe California. Flip a property maybe in Arizona. Does it really make sense? Is it beneficial? Because you're going to hear a lot of people say different things. As you guys know, I invested to a lot of properties. I just got back a couple days ago, maybe 3 days ago, from Jacksonville, Florida, which is maybe 5 hours away from pretty much Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And I had to pretty much stay there for 12 to 14 days to finish up a 3-2 property. Actually, sorry, 2-1 property, residential. And I want to talk to you guys about this whole journey and the pros and cons about it when you're investing into real estate when it's long distance. Okay. First and foremost, a lot of you need to understand, you got to make sure the home has enough value for you to even buy the property to go far along when it comes to, of course, investing in real estate. A lot of you're sometimes buying off emotion. You're buying off of he say, she say. One thing I want to always tell you guys, numbers don't lie. If you're investing into any property, the first thing you got to ask yourself, what's your return on investment, or what's your cap rate? Or in other words, how much money am I making if I buy this property, if I invest some dollars into it to rehab it? What's the ARV? What can I sell it for? What's that profit margin? Is it really worth it? Now, I want you to understand, I bought a property in Jacksonville, Florida. I bought the property roughly for about, let's say, $50,000. I'm going to say 50. It really was 42, but I'm going to just say 50 for math's sake. And at the end of the day, I want you guys to understand, why was this profitable investment, but at the end of the day, one of my worst investments at the same time. First and foremost, I want you guys to understand, Jacksonville is 5 hours away from Fort Lauderdale. And a lot of you need to understand, when you're investing into real estate and it's far away, you got to ask yourself a lot of questions. One is, do you have time to deal with the property? 2, can your contractors go up there, your electricians, your plumbers, your wood framers, your painters, or is it an all-in-one type of guy or gal? A lot of you need to ask these questions, because you're going to hear a lot of people tell you, I wouldn't invest in this city I would invest in that city, even though the city is 2 states away. A couple of years ago, I was going to invest into what we call Detroit, Michigan. Homes were $5,000, $3,000 for a lot of different types of homes, meaning you would own a home outright for $3,000 to $5,000. You own a home outright for $1,000 because the city of Detroit filed, of course, what we call bankruptcy. And at that point, homes are going for $100. Homes are going for $1,000. Homes are going for $5,000. Homes are going for literally $10,000. You could buy 2 homes, 3 homes. But a lot of people didn't realize what made me pull away from that. When you're investing far away, long distance, if you're not willing to be at that location, that city, that country, at least 2 to 3 months out the year to learn the city, to learn the country, because you got to understand, people, when you get on your flight, which we will be talking about, and go back home, who's controlling your investment? Who's watching your investment? Who's securing your investment? You're not there. And if you don't have internet at your house, you can't even know what's going on, which is putting like Ring cameras or simply safe cameras around your house. Because again, when you get on that flight and you're back home, who's watching your house? A lot of you need to think about this. Okay, let's even think about this. To fly, if there was an issue at your house, you would have to pay flight costs, hotel costs, people, or Airbnb costs. People, a lot of you need to really understand why is long distance investing not the best thing until you are at a level where you have leverage in these particular cities or states or countries. Meaning, maybe you have a family member that live in the city that you're investing, that you can trust. Maybe you have a family member that lives in the country that you're investing into. Because a lot of you don't understand, this is a 5-hour drive. And it was devastating on a lot of different aspects. You're going to hear a lot about it tonight. People, make sure you put your questions below in regards to, we're talking about investing into real estate long distance. Is it worth it? If you're in one state and you're investing into another, is it really worth it to invest into? Now, Jacksonville is a small city, okay, to a certain degree. Now, I got to really think about this. 5 hours to drive up, 5 hours to drive down. So obviously, it wouldn't really make sense for me, due to traffic, to go there and come back the same day. So I'd have to at least lay over for one day. But the amount of work the house needed, I knew I needed to dedicate at least 10 to 15 days of my life over there just to finish the home. The problem is, while I was there, and before I even got there, a lot of my contractors don't want to go up there 5 hours because they're losing money where we're located in Fort Lauderdale. And you got to really think about this. Why would a contractor who is an electrician, who is a plumber, who is a roofer, why would they sacrifice the money they're making in their home city to go 5 hours away, 15 days with you for money that's not worth it? A lot of you need to think about this. So if you're going to go long distance, you need to, of course, if you're really going to do it, you need to be able to stay in that city or state or country for at least 2 to 3 months to build a team. Build the team who's going to manage your property. Build the team who's going to, of course, rehab your property. Build a team who's going to probably do electrical, plumbing, woodwork. A lot of you always hear people say investing into different cities like Maryland, Detroit is cheaper. You're hearing Ohio, it's cheaper. But the question is it worth your time? And are you able to manage yourself and that asset being so far away? A lot of you don't know, just to take a flight to some of these states where you're, of course, going to invest into. Imagine you're making $1,000 profit renting out the property in a different state that you don't live in. For you to take the flight, that might be $400. So your $1,000 profit is now down to $600. For you to book a hotel based on how many days you stay, that could be anywhere from, if you even stay 3 days, let's say a rough average $100 a night. Your $1,000 profit is now down to $300 because $400 was for the flight, $300 was for the hotel. Now let's think about this. While you're out of state, you still got to think about breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks for all 3 days. Now imagine the property needs work. That means you have to fly your contractors from where you're at, pay for all of their flights, if it's more than one, to come to that city to do the work that they're skilled in. Sometimes I know some of us come from the islands. We might have one person that does it all by theory. But you still have to pay for that person to room and board, flight. People really think about this. Eating every day. Because you got to understand it has to be worth it for them to take a flight to a whole different city or for them to even drive 5 hours in my case. Now, I want you guys to understand, I bought the property for roughly $50,000. Problem number 2 I did, me and my partner, again, mistakes happen in life. We bought a wood frame home, okay? The home is made of wood. Now, for a lot of you, I'm warning you from tonight, do not ever buy a wood frame property. If it's not concrete, don't buy it. It don't matter how much of a good deal it is. Do not touch a wood frame home for a lot of reasons. Here's the negatives. A lot of wood is rotten because these homes have been built years ago. Number 2, there's termites all over the home. Number 3, you got to really ask yourself, do you have a skilled enough carpenter that knows how to deal with wood to a top level degree? Because to rehab the home, it takes the person not only knowing how to cut wood, knowing how to frame certain parts of the house, but also knowing how to, of course, measure accurately to make sure everything is rebalanced when it comes to floors, when it comes to bathrooms, when it comes to the whole level of the home. Because if everything is not leveled correctly, when it comes to wood or when it comes to even concrete, when you think about it, if you're retiling a home, you're going to see that, especially with wood, if the home is not fully leveled, even the doors of the room won't fit because the home is not balanced. It's not even. A lot of you need to understand why I'm giving you guys this video tonight, because you're going to sometimes hear people tell you, if I were you, I wouldn't invest into wherever you're from. They're going to say, you should invest into our city. And that city might be Ohio. It might be Detroit. It might be a city 5 hours away from you, 8 hours away from you. The question is tonight, is it worth it? Based on my experience of what I'm going to talk about tonight, it doesn't make sense to invest long distance. For a lot of you, you're going to learn tonight a lot of reasons why. Number 1 reason why you don't invest long distance is because you cannot manage it. The reality is, when you can't control an investment because you're not there, you got to understand your life is in someone else's hand. So imagine you bought a property. You're renting out a property making $2,000 to $3,000 a month. Okay? You're renting out a property in a city 8 hours away from you. Yes, you can drive, but listen to your issues. You have a person in there, you're probably renting it out Airbnb. You're probably renting it out the traditional way. You're probably renting it out Section 8. All right, you have a flood 2 o'clock in the morning. The whole house is flooded. How do you deal with the flood 8 hours away where you're not there? There's a family in the home. How do you fix the flooding problem in the home? A lot of you need to understand, when it comes to investing, things you're going to be learning from me is mistakes you don't want to make. And that's why I take a lot of risk. So now you don't have to do what I did. Because a lot of you are going to see opportunities that you believe is great opportunities, but you're not going to think through it. And one of the reasons I'm talking about this, because again, I'm a recap. Years ago, maybe 5 years ago, I went to Detroit maybe 4 times that year. There were homes for $1,000. You could buy 2 2s, 3 2s, bungalows. There were many different types of homes you could buy for $1,000, $2,000. You could buy 2, 3 homes for $6,000. Here's the problem. if you buy the home, this is what I ask myself, Bobby, if I buy the home, who's going to fix these homes? My contractors, based on me living in Florida, they don't want to take no flight to go in this particular city and be here for 30 or 60 days. So that means I have to find local contractors who not only know plumbing, electrical, maybe woodwork, maybe concrete work, maybe, of course, roof work. In certain states, they also have what we call heating aspects. Because certain states get cold. They have winter seasons. So do you understand how to deal with heaters? Do you understand how to deal with the hot season? This is another problem. So imagine this. You own 2-3 properties you bought in a different city. Something happened. 2 of the properties flooded while there's people living in it. In order for you to get to your property, you got to take a flight. The flood happened 2 o'clock in the morning. Let's get this right. You're going to go take a flight 2 o'clock in the morning to go to that city to hope that you can find contractors that can help you fix this plumbing issue. The family, you pray that they have insurance, which I hope you'll be smart enough to make sure insurance was a requirement, because now that family has to go to a hotel, which they most likely have to pay out of their pocket, get reimbursed by the insurance company. Some of you rent with tenants without having insurance. So that means that would fall on you to put them in a hotel until the plumbing issue is fixed. So let's think about this, flight costs. And let's think about this. In the example I used earlier, you're probably making $1,000 on each property. You own 3 properties. So hypothetically, you went there. To fly was $500. Hotel for just 3 days, $100 a night is on the cheap side. That's $800. So just hotel and flight, you already ate up profit for one of your properties. Breakfast, lunch, dinner. Finding an electrician, finding a plumber in your city that could give you a good price where your homes are located to fix the job right now. Might be another $1,000 to $3,000. You're already negative for the next couple months just because the distance between where your investment was and where you're located doesn't make sense. A lot of you need to understand when it comes to investing long distance. I was 5 hours away. I just got back 3 days ago. I was in a city called Jacksonville. I bought a property for roughly $50,000 cash. And the home was made of wood, which I tell you guys, don't ever buy a wood framed home. Tonight you're going to learn why. Number one, wood is going to be rotting like there's no tomorrow in the house. A lot of walls is uneven, termites everywhere. It requires a true carpenter to know how to rebalance all the floors. Because if all the floors aren't balanced, none of the doors will go on. None of the kitchen windows will be aligned. And if one side is too high, or if you take off too much wood on one side, your kitchen windows or your windows of your houses are going to be off. Imagine ripping out windows of a house and all the wood is rotten. Now you got to recreate a whole wall. Oh, you ripped up another window. Okay, now you got to recreate a whole new wall for this room, that room, this room, that room. People, we were working from 7 in the morning, 6 in the morning to 3 o'clock the next morning for 14 days, 12 to 14 days straight. No sleep. We did maybe 60 days of work in 12 days to finish this house. I went from buying a home for maybe $40,000, $50,000 to having to put another $80,000 cash into the property within 12 days because of a bad decision of buying a wood framed home that's not close to me because of distance. So to bring my team up there to fix the home, I had to Airbnb for 15 days. That was almost $3,000. Luckily, the guys I'm with, they're island guys. They're not really into crazy food every day. We're working so much, we're probably eating once a day. You could imagine per day, food expense is roughly $200. At 15 days, that's $3,000, another $3,000. So that's $6,000 just for food and Airbnb for 15 days of being up there. We're not done yet. Gas every single day, going back and forth to pick up supplies, material, to go to our Airbnb, which is on the good side of Jacksonville, and where you're getting the best deals is on the east side of Jacksonville, where it's almost a 45-minute differential. So you're driving 45 minutes back and forth every minute to just go to a Home Depot to get supplies. I probably went to Home Depot per day, maybe 9 times a day. Blowing through gas, probably 300 to 400 every day. Blowing through, maybe every 3 days, sorry. Just a miscellaneous cost alone, it was an easy $15,000. Supplies was an easy maybe $20,000. Then to have to pay my contractor, my carpenter, who is a plumber, an electrician. Of course, if he's a carpenter, he deals with wood. He also tiles. That roughly cost me maybe $30,000 for him to be there for 15 days. For him to step away from being in his own city where he didn't have to move and do all this work, to stop working, to come with me for 15 days and to see a project and say, Bobby, let's do it. We're going to finish this in 15 days with your skill. Where are we starting? You also need strong leadership to understand how to be proactive, to know based on what you're seeing. Okay, we're going to need framing. Okay, at this point, I need to go buy wood. Okay, at this point, I need to go get insulation. Okay, at this point, I need to, of course, run the electrical. At this point, I need to, of course, after electrical, to close the wall back up. At this point, I need to, of course, go get compound, sheetrock compound. You got to know every step of the house to be ahead of your workers, your contractors, your carpenters, to make sure they don't have to move, and you're constantly getting everything they need, down to tiling, down to creating walls of a home that was never there, down to shooting what we call knockdown, because a lot of imperfection on the walls, down to running electrical throughout the whole house, electrical panels, electrical wiring. People, a $50,000 home ended up putting me in a position where I'm roughly at about $130,000 because I decided to invest long distance when I could have made the same amount of money when I sell the home, which I'm going to be putting it for sale in 2 weeks. I could have made the same $30,000 to $40,000 or $50,000, $60,000 without all that money being spent, without all the effort, without me being away from home. Because I get home, I'm backed up for business, for business that I do here for almost another 3-4 weeks. I'm backed up because I had to leave for 15 days and go there while I have a whole bunch of business I need to attend to here. All my clients are on pause. So now I'm backed up almost 3 to 4 weeks behind because I decided that it made sense to buy a property long distance because I wanted to make more profits. And I learned in life, people, it's not worth it. Number one, do not buy a home that's made of wood. If it's not concrete, you all should understand. I've always known, don't ever buy a wood frame home. But the deal was so sweet, which I thought it was a sweet deal. The deal backfired on me, where I thought, okay, I was going to buy this home for $40,000. No real work is needed. Boom, I'm going to just pretty much sell it for $200,000. This is going to be the easiest $160,000 I've ever made. That is not how it went. Bought a deal for $40,000. Had to put another $80,000 into it. Could not even sell it for $200,000 because it's not perfected to where I need it perfected to. Because I don't have time to go back up there. And there's a lot of faults in the home because of the old wood. I cannot perfect the home. I could do my best to get it to where I've gotten. I'm going to show you guys when I post this tomorrow, the before and after. It looks beautiful. But there's a lot that we could have perfected to a certain degree if it was closer. Because every day we're working, those 14 hours, time is ticking, and we got 12 to 14 days to be there. There cannot be a delay because my guys need to go back home and get to work that they got going on over there and other properties we got going on. And I got to deal with this property because if I don't, that property's going to just keep sitting there catching city fines, city violations because the grass is high, this is that violated, this is open permit, problems after problems after problems. A lot of you may not know too, if you're going to get into real estate, the most valuable people you're going to need is you need a person that's not only a plumber. That person needs to also be a true carpenter. They need to know how to deal with drywall and wood. No matter if it's not a wood frame home or if it's a concrete home. Do that person know how to deal with wood? Because people, when you really think about it, a home is really built off of a couple things. Concrete, wood, drywall, 1.5-inch screws, and pretty much what? Insulation, caulk, sheetrock putty. It's really about 7 things a home is really built off of. And then everything else is more electrical, plumbing. So if you have a guy that's working for you and you're trying to get into real estate, for any of you that's about to get into real estate, always invest closer to your home first before you come out and ever do long distance. Because you need to have a carpenter that you trust, that understands the scope of work when it comes to going long distance. And you need to be able to see if your carpenter is willing to drive or fly as far as you're trying to go. Because a lot of carpenters are not going to go far away because it's not worth their time. Even though on this deal, I'm still going to probably make $30,000 or $45,000 profit when I sell it next month. It was a hard $40,000 profit. There is easier ways to make money in the real estate market by simply investing closer to where you live. So if there's an issue, you can simply just drive a couple minutes away to your assets. A lot of you need to understand too, I own a couple properties down here in Fort Lauderdale. I want you guys to understand. I protect a lot of my assets through, of course, wills and trusts and all that good stuff. But it's important to understand all my properties that I own, I like to put them minutes away from my home. So if there's a problem, I can get there in 5 to 10 minutes. I'm already there. I don't believe in being far away from property that I rent out to people who pay me rent every month. Because it's such a great thing when you're closer. Because at the end of the day, parents, families are living in your home. When they see that they're paying rent, and a lot of them are paying top dollar rent, and you're taking a day or two to come fix problems, you're going to lose a great paying tenant, which makes no sense to me. When you're closer, it makes things so much easier. You're collecting rent, by theory, from 7 different people who's 12 minutes away from you. Within 30 minutes, you already made your $10,000 profit of collecting rent from everybody. If there's a situation, you can get there in 8 minutes. It's more convenient, it's more beneficial, it's more effective investing into properties that are closer to where you stay at than long distance. Another reason why my contractors can get to, my carpenters or my contractors could get to a problem ASAP because they all live in the same city as me. Another great thing when your investments are close to you when it comes to real estate, when you're investing in real estate, you don't have to pay for flight. You don't have to pay for hotel costs because you live where you invest. You live close to where you invest. You're only 20 minutes away, 30 minutes away. Even an hour away is not bad. But 5, 7 hours away, a state away, a country away, people, I'm telling you from my experience, I've flipped a lot of homes. Don't do it. This home has taught me a lot. Taught me to never buy a wood frame home. It's also taught me the importance of understanding the value of yourself versus distance. Yes, something could be more profitable because look at what I did. I'm buying 2 1 properties in a different city for $40,000. 40 to 50,000, 3.2s, 40 to 50,000, easy. In our city, you can't even get a 3.2 if you're in Fort Lauderdale for less than $500,000, $600,000. So profit-wise, yes, it makes sense. But when you look at your life and your time, it doesn't make sense for me. And this is something a lot of you need to always evaluate when you're investing into real estate. Is the profit you're supposedly going to make on this investment, based on how far it is it really worth it? Imagine you can make $20,000, but it's 2 states away to make that 20. How are you going to get your team over there? How are you going to manage the property even if you rent it out? How are you going to get your team over there if you got to flip the property, to fix it, to rehab it? How are you going to deal with any situation that involves the property? Going to the city, which I had to go to the city numerous times to deal with different problems. City violation, open permits, closing permits. How are you going to do that when you're not there? Some of you work 9 to 5. Do you have enough PTO time to just be off dealing with the property for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 5 weeks? If you don't, invest closer to home. It makes more sense. It's easier for you to manage. It gives you more control. So for a lot of you that's about to start investing, you're trying to figure out, should I invest long distance or should I invest closer to home? Invest closer to home. Start off with maybe a condo. Start off with maybe a townhouse. Start off with a small house. Remember, the theory is you want the ugliest house in the best neighborhood. That's the goal. Can you find the ugliest house in the best neighborhood? And you also want to find people who are selling directly. A lot of you need to understand in real estate, the best deals is finding the sellers directly, talking to the sellers directly. I'm a realtor, not going through a realtor. I'm a realtor, and I'm telling you this. I do commercial real estate, though. The best deals in real estate is dealing with the seller directly. A person wants to sell their home, or they just want to get rid of it, or they're moving out the country. Those are the best sellers because there's urgency. They want to just do whatever to just get rid of this property. And there's nothing better than you actually able to talk to them. And sometimes they'll say, you know what, we can do seller financing, meaning you don't have to go through a bank to get money to buy this property. They're willing to finance you on terms that you and them could agree on. So it doesn't affect your credit, which is a sweet situation. It's close to your home, so that means your contractors, your carpenters can all just be there in a couple minutes to help you fix it. You could slowly work on your property without being rushed because you're minutes away from it, which is way smarter than being long distance. If you're going to buy any home, like I said, do not buy wood frame. If the home is not a concrete home, CBS they call it, do not invest. It has to be a CBS. Make sure you are buying concrete built homes. Because when it comes to another part I want to talk to you about, insurance. Certain companies don't insure certain types of homes, especially if they're not made of concrete. It costs the buyer more money to get it insured, which makes it more difficult for you to sell the property. This is why I'm telling you guys this, because some of you are about to go into the world of investing. You're about to go into the world of rehabbing. You're about to start your first investment. Before you do that, ask yourself a couple questions. How much are you buying it for? How much can you sell it for? They call that term in the world of real estate ARV, after repair value. How much money do you have to put into it to rehab, to upgrade the bathroom, to kitchen, because you know that's what sells the house. Is it close to you? Is the work that needs to be done to rehab the property, can your contractors do this? Is it something that they're familiar with? In other words, do you have the right team to rehab the property? These are things you have to think about when you're investing into real estate. How much profit are you going to make after you buy the home, rehab the home? What is the difference of what you can sell it for compared to what you have into it? Pretty much that's your profit. You bought a home, hypothetically $100,000, no matter if you financed it or not. Cool. But you can sell it for $200,000. Wow, there's $100,000 profit. But you also got to factor in, you might have to put $40,000 maybe on a credit card to buy supplies and fix it. So you bought it for $100,000, there's $40,000 worth of rehab. You can sell it for $200,000, there's a $60,000 profit by theory. The reason I say by theory because you got to also account for title processing. property taxes. If you're not a realtor, you have to hire a realtor to help you sell it. So you got to pay commission for your realtor, the selling side, and the buyer's agent realtor. So you got to pay usually people pay about 6% commission. So that's 6% of the purchase price of, let's say, $200,000. You just lost 12 G's right there, just off commission. But if you're a realtor, which is smart, you don't have to pay selling side of commission because I am the person who's selling the property and I'm a realtor. So I only have to pay the buyer's agent, the person who brings me the buyer that's going to buy my property. That's why some people like myself become realtors. We don't just become realtors because we want to sell houses all day. I actually hate selling houses. I hate going around showing people houses. Oh my God, I don't like this house. This is wasting my goddamn time. But one thing I do say, I do like commercial. I do like having my real estate license because when I buy a property, they have to pay me commission, even though I'm buying the property. Because you're going to have, whoever's the buyer's agent, I am the agent, I'm the buyer. You have to give me my commission. And sometimes what I do, I use the commission to fix the house and then make $40,000, $50,000. This is why it's also important to understand, to have a strategy. How are you going to attack real estate when you start getting into real estate as a beginner investor? How are you going to finance the project? Are you buying cash? Are you working with a lender that's leveraging your tax returns? Are you going to go in with a couple friends? Because when you guys are getting into real estate, it's not just, I heard this thing could make me money. You got to sit down and do numbers. Okay, this is the purchase price. The next question you got to ask yourself, how much is it? How am I going to get the financing? Am I buying this property cash? Am I going conventional? Am I going FHA? Am I going subprime? You got to have a lender that's going to give you some options on how am I going to get the money to buy this property? How much I need to put down? What my credit score need to be? What my tax returns need to look like? Then as you get that, okay, now you have a monthly payment. If you know you're not keeping the house, okay, cool. I know roughly if you're selling a property, you got to keep it for at least 3 months because an FHA buyer, you can't sell to them unless you've held the property for 90 days. So roughly, you're going to hold the house for at least 4 months. And let's say the mortgage is $2,000. 4 times 2,000, you know you lost $8,000 automatically. You know if you're not a realtor, you got to also pay commission. So if the home was a $200,000 home, roughly 6%, you lost another $12,000. So that's $20,000 gone off your profit. You got to also transfer property taxes. You got to also pay for title services. It's important to understand when you're getting into the world of flipping real estate, have you done your numbers? Have you done your due diligence? Have you searched the city website to see when was the last time the water been on? When was the last time the lights been on in this property? Are there any open permits, any open liens? Before you buy any property, do your research. By theory, that's what the title company should do, but sometimes you can do it yourself and save the money. I say this because a lot of you are starting to say you're going into flipping real estate. And I'm starting to give you guys a lot of gems in this particular area of real estate because the real estate market is about to crash real bad at the end of next year. Going into 2024, based on what we're seeing, we should have a real bad real estate market where prices have dropped drastically. This is going to be a great time for a lot of you to invest and buy some real estate. I told you guys earlier what I'm doing in my earlier live. I'm buying triplexes minimum. Triplexes, quadplexes, or apartment buildings. I'm not buying nothing less than that. But for some of you, start wherever you can. But the reason you guys got to start opening your minds because a lot of you, before you make money, you don't take time to have a plan. And when people start telling you, oh, you should invest in Ohio, knowing you live in Florida. You should invest into Maryland, knowing you live in Florida. You should invest into Tampa, knowing you live in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. You got to ask yourself a question. Do you have time? Can you manage it? Do you have carpenters or contractors to go to these different states and work on properties? If you don't, have you accounted for the flights and the hotel costs? It's going to cost you to be far away trying to invest in flip properties. Sometimes, no matter how good the profit is, it doesn't make financial sense. I'm going to sign off today. People, make sure you put your questions below. If you have any questions, I'm going to take some real estate questions today. If you got any questions in regards to flipping real estate, you want to probably start investing into real estate, right? Post your questions on all the platforms that I'm on. I think this one is IG, Facebook, YouTube. We got a question. Do you think breaking the house down and building a new house would have been a better idea if there's no delay of supplies? Believe it or not, shouts out to Nabil. Nabil asked a very great question. In my particular situation, I bought the wood frame home, which I told you guys, do not buy wood frame homes. Buy only concrete, aka CBS home. I bought the home for roughly $50,000. I ended up putting another $80,000 into it. I was roughly $130,000 into the home, and I'm putting it for sale actually in 2 weeks. We just finished the kitchen actually, so we're done. I just got to get my cleaning team and close one permit, and I'm good. He asked a very great question. Would it have been better if I would have just rebuilt the whole home because it's a wood frame home? Believe it or not, yes, it would have. The amount of money I put in, I could have built, instead of a 2-1, which is what I bought, I could have built a 3-2, which would have probably put me in a position where I would have doubled the profit I would have made. Instead of making 40, I would have probably made 80 or 100,000. The only reason I did not do that, and I kept thinking about it, is because I said to myself, here he goes again, distance. I'm not there. I cannot stay in this city long enough to do that, and I don't understand how the city requirements work when it comes to building from scratch, getting a building permit as an owner. The application is a simple application, but I would have had to probably be there for 60 to 90 days. It goes back to earlier's conversation. My team is not going to be there with me. Without my team, when it comes to rehabbing homes, I'm nothing at rehabbing. I need my team. And for my team to say they're willing to only do 15, 20 days max, and that 20 was, they didn't even do 20 days. They did 14 and they was complaining. They got to go. You could imagine 90 days trying to tell a person who's a carpenter, who's making money all day, and I have several different carpenters, to say, look, I need you to go to a different city with me for 60 days to rebuild the whole home. There's a 90% chance they're going to tell you no. Because one, some people have families, they have kids, they can't be away for 90 days, 60 days. So Nabil, the question you asked, shouts out to Nabil, the question is an amazing question. But the reason I didn't do it, I could not have my team there long enough to fulfill that particular type of project. And I could not be there 60 to 90 days to rebuild the whole home. I got a lot of business going on in Fort Lauderdale. I can't come and be in Jacksonville for 60 to 90 days, even though I know that would have been the smartest thing to do. Because if I would have rebuilt the home to spec, I would have probably built, instead of a 2-1 home, which is what it was, a 3-2, because also the backyard had a lot of space for me to build the 3-2 the way I wanted to build it. So people, it's a great question he asked. If you guys have any other questions in regards to investing into real estate, feel free, put your questions below. We're talking about investing into real estate long distance. Does it make sense? Some of you are in certain cities where you have a lot of great opportunities to make a lot of money in real estate. Why not enjoy that opportunity? Compared to some of us who have to come to your city, it's not worth it for us. So for a lot of you, I'm always preaching to you, fix your credit, fix your tax returns, connect with a lender, because without a lender, you can't take down no property unless you got a lot of cash. It's important to have a lender in your back pocket, because when there's a property that's available for you to purchase or invest into, you need to be able to make a call to that lender. What is it going to take for me to buy this $100,000 home? What is it going to take for me to buy this $300,000 home? What is it going to take for me to buy this $600,000 home? Without a lender, people, a lender is the most valuable tool you need if you're flipping real estate. This is your boy Bobby from MentorMe.com. I see there's no more questions. I'm going to get off this live. I want you guys to have a great night. I appreciate all of you. Make sure you share, like, subscribe, get on my Spotify. I got a lot of great content. And make sure you, of course, support Spotify. It's $9.99 a month to support the movement that I'm doing. Appreciate all of you. MentorMe.com. Appreciate all the support on IG, YouTube, and all. Hold on. Oh, we got another question before I get off. SMG event. Shouts out to Hot Rod in the building, people. That's my guy right there, man. Hot Rod, Hot Rizzle, baby. He asked a great question. He says, how can we find a private lender? I could give you could always DM me if you're local. So you could DM me. I'll give you a couple of them. But private lenders are not limited. What I do want you guys to understand, another day I want to do a live and explain to you the pros and cons about private subprime lenders, because I want to explain to you the different types of lenders. Because there's lenders, they'll give you a loan based on the value of the home. They don't care about what your credit is, but they're going to charge you an aggressive interest rate. So imagine right now, to go to a bank to get a loan, interest rates are very aggressive anyway. They're at 7.5 roughly. Subprime lenders are going to say, look, I know your credit is bad. I'm going to still give you this loan to buy this house, but I'm going to charge you 13%. You see the problem? And I'm charging you interest only, meaning the money they charge you every month, that's going straight in their pocket. None of that is going towards principal. To find lenders, private lenders, they're all over the place. No matter what city you're at, there's always local real estate events. And subprime lenders, lenders in general, are always there because lenders always want business. So if you find a real estate meetup or any type of real estate type of luncheon, you're always going to find lenders. There's not a limitation on lenders. I have hundreds of lenders of people who will give you money to buy properties. So, and I have one that I use. Shouts out to him. He's a Cuban guy. Mike Silva is a legend. I shouts out to him. We've done a lot of deals together. So when it comes to, of course, getting a lender, I give you guys my personal lender. I'm a big fan of him. When it comes to, of course, residential properties. But when it comes to, if you're ever getting into commercial, meaning properties that's 4 units or more, I have a whole different set of lenders that I use. But when it comes to residential properties, one house, one condo, one townhouse, maybe a duplex, my lender should be able to gracefully deal with you if you're in Florida. People, shout out to all of you. Appreciate all the love. Tonight we were talking about the importance of understanding, is it really worth it to invest into a real estate property if it's far away from you or if it's in a different state or different city? As we learned tonight, it's not worth it. Don't invest your money. Don't lose your money. Don't do what I did, and you will be okay. This is your boy from MentorMe.com. Make sure you guys follow me on TikTok, Mentor Me at 954. Get on my YouTube. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Appreciate all the love. Thank you.